Good evening and welcome to Legal Tech Live, episode 49. We are joined today by Dorna Moini. Am I saying that correctly?
You are.
I am. She is, and some of this will need to be created because there's been a name change. She is the CEO and founder of DocumateLaw.org. Is that correct?
It's actually just Documate.org.
Documate.org. Dorna is the founder of Documate, which was originally HelpSelf Legal, a no-code document automation tool allowing legal aid to create powerful platforms to streamline repetitive work, though in this recent rebranding, it has become a web-based document automation platform that helps you turn frequently used forms and templates into intelligent workflows. It can be used for everything from intake to form generation to complex document assembly. And best of all, the interface allows you to add complex logic without any coding at all. And as Documate says here on the About page, it was initially a self-help platform for domestic violence survivors, but you've evolved into a software that empowers any lawyer to create custom legal apps for any area of law. So that's really exciting because, as we know and as we've heard, for one, the document process has become so time-consuming. The legal practice is so heavily document-oriented or paper intensive, and you've created a way around this for all lawyers. Tell us a little bit about the journey, a little bit about your background to begin with, Dorna, and then a little bit about how your background then transferred into what is now Documate.
Definitely. And thank you, Nick, for having me on. I've watched many of your other 48 episodes, and I'm really honored to get to be on the show talking to you.
Okay.
And sorry, I've lost my voice, as I mentioned. Sorry to the audience. But we started out as a company called HelpSelf Legal. I practiced law at a law firm for almost 7 years doing corporate side work, but I also did a lot of pro bono work. And some of my pro bono work was with domestic violence survivors. And so what I was really seeing when I was at a law firm was the disparity between the types of technology that some of my corporate clients had, really advanced document review and not necessarily automation, but just a lot of advanced tools. And then for my pro bono clients, I was sometimes handwriting forms or repeatedly inserting the same information on multiple forms. And so initially what I wanted to do was just build out a tool for domestic violence survivors to be able to get remedies online. So it would be sort of like a TurboTax for domestic violence law. And at the time, I lived in...
That was your much of your pro bono work was in the domestic violence space, is that correct?
Exactly. Okay. So, and at the time, and there wasn't really a tool, a software platform or any kind of tool that did that for these clients. And then at the time, I lived in San Francisco, and as you may know, San Francisco is kind of very tech-centric and a lot of engineers there. So I got together with a friend of mine who is now my co-founder, Michael, and we decided to build out this platform for domestic violence survivors. And you probably know Bob Ambrogi. Bob Ambrogi ended up writing about our platform. At the time, I knew nothing about legal tech, and I only knew law firm, and I didn't even know that Bob Ambrogi was like a big name. I didn't know people read his blog. I was just like, oh, this guy wrote about us on his blog. And from that article, all these people started reaching out to us and saying, hey, can you build something like this for, divorce in Arkansas or XYZ area of law in ABC jurisdiction? Mm-hmm. And so we kind of realized that there was a need for some sort of tool that would allow people to streamline these types of TurboTax-like platforms without using any code. Mm-hmm. There were some softwares that existed at the time, like HotDocs obviously exists, but we've kind of declared a little bit of a war against HotDocs because we just think that they haven't innovated fast enough. And so we came out to build what we thought HotDocs had not done in the 30 years or so that they've been around. So we were like, there seems to be a space in the market for this. and we can probably help more people and more legal aid organizations, especially with their work, if we create a software platform that allows them to easily automate that work.
And so part of your passion then for this was, Mitch, thank you for being here in the Facebook. We are live in Facebook now. Our guest tonight is Dorna Moini of Documate.org. And I do want to go ahead and give a hard time to Ivan, who will show up, I'm sure, at some point. He's probably protecting the country, and his timeliness gives me great concern about what he's providing. And he's missing a great interview so far. But Dorna, it sounds like you have this passion for helping legal aid organizations. Is that really what kind of pushed you to how do we help them accomplish more through automation?
Definitely. And so that was actually something that we struggled with at the beginning, was how should we structure this? Should we be a nonprofit, which would then require us to be spending half our time fundraising? Mm-hmm. Or can we find a sustainable model that allows us to help nonprofits and legal aid, but also make revenue? So in the past year and a few months or so that we've been around, we've now really developed that platform. So we provide our software to lawyers, law firms, even we're branching out of legal a little bit into like companies or really anyone who has documents, which is mostly legal adjacent.
Right.
We charge them and we make revenue on them. And then we provide our software for free to legal aid. So we've kind of found this model that
so you've got a little social good, sort of social entrepreneurship aspect of it.
Exactly.
We can make a profit here. We can provide it to you over here.
Absolutely.
I like that. I like that. And this goes for, so the document automation software that you create, do you guys create custom per firm or per practice, or how does that work? Do I hire you as a family law practitioner or say a contract litigator, commercial litigator, to create a whole bunch of these documents that I normally have to do over and over? Is it custom build, or is it sort of generic across different practices? Tell me how that works.
Yeah, so most of our work is actually not creating content. Most of our work is just providing the software, which is a no-code tool. And it looks a little bit like, on one tab, it looks a little bit like SurveyMonkey or Typeform, where you're inserting all the questions, adding the different logic to your questions. And then on the second tab, you upload all of the documents, which are either court forms or which could be PDFs, or they could be Word templates that you're using in your practice. And then you connect the two using no code. So that's what most of our work is. Although there are a lot of firms and organizations who don't have time. Maybe they have maybe 200, 300 forms, and they can't do it themselves. So then in those cases, they can engage us to provide services in addition to the software. Okay. And our software enables us to do that in a much more speedy manner.
Okay, all right. And I don't know what we're allowed to talk about here for as far as your clients, but I know that it's been openly kind of discussed online that you're a friend of mine, a friend of the show. You're working with Hello Divorce, who is helping people through divorce. So did you create specific software for that type of a business, where she's doing the paralegal assisted divorce, or anywhere from limited scope divorce to full engagement for an amicable divorce? Is that specific service that you're providing, or is that the software that you provide there?
Yes, so it's a combination. And Erin is amazing. Hello Divorce is launching shout out to Hello Divorce for launching their Divorce Navigator DIY app this month sometime. But what we did was we basically did we used our software, and we built out their forms on top of our software, just like they would have done if they had gotten onto our platform on their own. But they're very busy, and they're
so they can hire Documate as a service also to kind of do this for them.
Exactly, and then we just handed it back over to them.
Gotcha. Excellent. And it's interesting. I just was listening to somebody's podcast. It might have been Bob Ambrosie's podcast last week or something, and they brought up Billy Tarasio, who's pretty well known in the kind of modern law or legal tech movement. And she, I guess, what she had done was taken all these forms and put them all online for people to use and fill out themselves. But that, rather than we're not, because you can, charging for these things today has become bigger obstacle to the practice. So people actually filled them out themselves, and then she got a flood of customers that she never expected to get because she was trying to make it more accessible to them. But then they liked that she had made it more accessible, and it became bigger business for her. I think that's fantastic. Is that what you're doing for your customers, or is that what you're doing for the legal aid, or how is that working?
Definitely. So for both of those sectors, that works. So some of our customers are using this kind of like you said, as almost like a lead generation tool. Our for-profit customers, they put these simple workflows that really don't need, you need an employment agreement or an employment packet or something like that. You can go onto a lawyer's website, pull that information off, and you don't necessarily need to talk to the lawyer. But then maybe you're going to come back when you have an employee who quit and you need advice, or you have something more complex that you need. So it can be a lead generation tool. Some are providing these same workflows at a very small fee, so that then the client can upgrade to some hourly or flat fee services from the lawyer themselves. And then from the legal aid side, most of the time they are providing these tools in their clinical setting. So maybe they have like an expungement clinic, and then they can use this workflow, and they have, instead of having 2 lawyers and 20 people who are accessing legal aid, they could have 2 lawyers and 200 people, because those people are actually filling out their forms on their own, and the legal aid attorneys just need to circle around and check everyone's forms and make sure.
It's almost like a teacher checking people's homework to make sure that it's done correctly. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So just a repeat here for Mitch, Carol, Chase, those who are watching us over here on Facebook Live. The product is Documate.org. You can find it online, and it's a document automation and workflow software. And forgive me, Dorna, when I'm looking over here, I'm actually looking at comments of Facebook. I'm not ignoring you.
I was wondering, I was like, is Mitch sitting on the other side? Can you turn the video so I can see him?
Mitch is actually asking a question here. Is Dorna's product mobile friendly? Also, and Mitch, I don't know if you know Mitch Jackson's good friend, and he's a catastrophic injury attorney in Orange County.
Very close to me. I'm in LA.
You're in LA, yeah. And you should get to meet Mitch. He's a great guy. He's all over the place. You can't miss him online. Is it product mobile friendly and also focused on any particular practice areas? He may not have caught the very beginning before we were live on Facebook.
Yeah, so I'll address the second question first. You can build any area of law on our platform. So we're kind of like a no-code tool to create a TurboTax for anything. So it's up to you to create the questions and link them to whatever documents you want. And as I mentioned earlier, we can help you with that if you'd like. And then mobile friendly, yes, it is mobile friendly. You can access some of on our homepage. We have some examples that you could also access, and you can try them out from your iPhone or from your Android phone or whatever other options there are, and check out how that works as well.
Excellent, excellent. And I did want to add, Mitch and Carol, it is for profit. She sells to the law firms and legal services industry, but then they provide the service free to the legal aid organizations, which I think is a really great, really helpful that you're taking that access to justice approach for those organizations. Can you tell us anything about the nonprofits who are using the service?
Yeah, so I mean, those are kind of the people we entered this area for, because at the time that we started what was formerly HelpSelf Legal and now is Documate, and as you know, we changed our name because people just didn't understand whether we provided direct legal services or not, and the old name was confusing. So given that it's a software platform, we decided let's change the name now so that we can people will understand what we are a little better. But as far as the nonprofit, so we entered this area because at the time that I was kind of thinking about starting this, Trump had just been elected, and he had proposed to reduce the amount of money that goes to the Legal Services Corporation from around $400 million, which is they usually get per year from Congress, down to zero. And so there was a huge panic. And since then, we've kind of realized this is a legal aid and civil legal services are a bipartisan issue. So hopefully it's not at risk. But there was a huge panic. And so we were thinking, and it's still a big, access to justice is still a big issue. How can we help other than just throwing more lawyers at the problem? Because there's just never going to be enough lawyers. So we wanted to create automated tools. And so as we moved towards this kind of for-profit mechanism, we realized that we could provide this software to the legal aid for free and kind of accomplish the same goals. And so some of the things that people are working on with our platform, we've had some expungement tools built on our platform. Obviously, we started with the domestic violence platform. We've had name and gender change forms built on our platform. We have the federal court in California using us for some of their pro se documents.
Nice.
Generating the initial complaint in a pro se matter. We have some other organizations that I don't necessarily get everyday feedback from in terms of what they're building, but they're using it internally for their teams. And we just love, like 2 weeks ago, we built out this platform for one of the legal aid organizations in LA. And I spent all weekend helping them build out this tool. And, it's sunny outside in LA, and, you're thinking, oh, it would be nice to be outside. Then after their clinic on like the Wednesday, their whole team calls me up and they say, we were able to file 250 expungements this week because we used your tool, whereas normally we process like 15 to 20 of these in a clinic.
Wow.
Those are the stories that keep us really motivated, because they are directly reporting back to us on how this is affecting everyday people.
That's impressive. And Carol Williams, who's an immigration attorney, and she's over on Facebook, and she says she loves this legal aid component. And I'm wondering, have you had any success in that? Because immigration is form heavy, very form intensive. Have you had any immigration attorneys utilize the service yet?
I know there are a few immigration attorneys using it, but I actually have not, because we don't, as I said, not everyone tells us exactly what they're working on. So I haven't seen any publicly facing applications in the immigration sphere. Okay. But that's one that maybe more people, if people want to build, I'll put out a message. If people want to build out immigration tools for the public on our platform, let us know. We'd love to give you our software for free to do that, because it's also an area where, because there's a lot of federal law, you can have a huge impact at scale very quickly. Yeah.
So tell us, Joseph, and I'm going to forget his name. Joseph is the one who met you somewhere. What's that?
Joseph Schieffer.
That's who I was just like, Schieffer or Schieffer. I couldn't remember how to pronounce it. He had said, hey, you should interview Dorna. And I said, okay, yeah, I'm familiar with, I've heard of HelpSelf Legal, but I thought you guys had been around a lot longer, and we try to keep things under the 12-month. We want people early stage.
I'll take it as a compliment.
Yeah.
We're established here.
Yeah, I did think that. Probably some huge credit to Aaron for making me think that as well. But you guys have been around for how long now? As combined HelpSelf and Documate.
Since December 2017 was when we started the domestic violence application.
That's okay.
When we launched the domestic violence application, we worked on it for a few months before then.
And you were still practicing at that time?
I had just left. I just left my job like right after we launched it.
Right after you launched, okay. Yeah. And so now you are full on. This is the only thing you're doing now. Full
on, yeah. And our team is me, the non-engineer, and then 3 engineers who work with us. So
okay, all right.
I wear all the other hats.
With all the other hats, right. Yeah, Carol is agreeing that immigration law is very form heavy, and Mitch says he really likes the way you're approaching things with legal aid. So can you tell us about costs, finances, things like that? So I am a immigration lawyer, and I want to build out something like this. What am I looking at cost-wise? Is it subscription-based, etc.?
Mm-hmm. So we have 3 tiers. Our first tier is if you buy a yearly subscription, a yearly plan, it comes out to $83-ish a month. If you want to go month to month, it's $99 a month. And that gives you 2 interview creators within your firm, 20 workflows that you can build out, and then really data and all that. We pretty much give you really huge amounts. You're not going to reach it if you only have 20 workflows and 2 interview creators. Second tier is 5 interview creators, unlimited interview workflows. And then our third tier, and that one is $199, but if you buy a year and you're not going month to month, then it's $165.
Okay.
And the third tier is more enterprise level, which is for some of the bigger law firms where they're just automating a ton of different forms.
Right.
And I will note that part of what we absorb in that cost is we take privacy and security and data security very seriously. So that's something that as we started to talk to some of the larger firms initially, they gave us these long checklists of qualifications that we had to meet before we could even talk to them. And one of those things was they wanted dedicated instances on Amazon Web Services, which is what we host on. So as opposed to being compiled with everyone else, you have your own instance, all your data, everything is separate. So
Right.
that comes along with it. And so we pay for that as part of the cost of the experience.
Okay.
The second tier also allows you to kind of custom brand everything. You can put your logo at the top, have your own domain name on it. So really you can completely white label it.
Okay. All right. Excellent. And what do you see, what kind of growth have you experienced that you can share with us in the last year and a half? Has it exploded? I see that you're busy traveling all the time, or I shouldn't say I see that. I hear about it. I follow Legal Tech on Twitter, and I see pictures of you in Oakland with Aaron, and then you just came from the LSC event.
Yeah, so we launched the document automation software piece of our business at the end of last April. And so since then, I mean, at first it was slow moving, kind of getting the word out. That's the biggest part, is just letting people know that we exist. Mm-hmm. And now I feel like people are just finding us all over the internet. Google ads are a little difficult because we're competing with some of these huge players who are charging thousands of dollars a month. So it's a little harder to compete with them, but people are finding us like on comments, on articles, on the web, through podcasting, all different types of ways. So I would say in the last few months, it's really been exploding, and we've really gotten really great traction.
That's fantastic.
I think the new name has helped as well, I will say.
Doing what now?
The new name.
The new name has helped. That's good. That's good. I mean, you had one iteration, you found out it didn't work, and you changed something. There's nothing wrong with that. Can you tell us what your next? So we get into this, and we usually ask these questions about: Are you looking for seed investment at this point? Are you looking to, or are you bootstrapping it? How do you plan to move forward, say the next 3 and 6 and 9 months?
Yeah, so we have been bootstrapped up to now. We're now profitable. We've been profitable for about a few months now, so that's good. However, we have we've had it in the back of our minds for a while. Should we raise a small round just to kind of scale a little bit faster? And I think we're thinking a little bit more seriously about that. So maybe in the next few months, we may actually, it's one of those things that gets pushed down on the to-do list every month.
Right.
Trying to push new features and do other things, but it's something that we were loosely considering right now. So if we found the right partners who could really provide us helpful advice, honestly, if Mark Benioff, if he's listening to this podcast,
regular listener, I'm sure.
If he wants to invest, I would bring him on because I just read his book, and I feel like a lot of the transition that he made with Salesforce as a platform and really positioning themselves in the marketplace is just so inspiring that I would love to have him as my daily advisor.
Right. And,
so if we have the right partner, we may want to do that.
Yeah, you bet. And that's a huge part of taking on investors, right? If they not just the money, but what else do they bring as an advisor or as a mentor or that type of thing? And Mark, if you're out there, we'll also take sponsors. You know, if Salesforce wants to sponsor the show. Just a side note of that, experts.com, my day job, in essentially sponsored by default of the show because I'm in their office right now. But we were one of the first 200 users of Salesforce back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were one of the first 200 Salesforce users. We take that with pride because we still use it. It's been a phenomenal system. So
you're positioning yourself again as a leader in discovering innovative technology.
That's right. That's what it is. So that's interesting. So I like hearing that you've bootstrapped and now profitable. This is not the story that we always get. In fact, the last 5 or 6 episodes, it's really been those who are at that stage looking for investment or even, actively seeking investment. So it's not always the startup story that boom, within say 15 to 18 months that they are profitable and bootstrapped, and that's fantastic. I mean, I think that's something to be proud of for building a sustainable business. Certainly money helps you grow, there's no doubt about it, but it has to be the right money. So congratulations. If I were wearing a hat, I'd take it off, but take my hat off to you for that.
Yeah, it has been, as any startup founder knows, it's a roller coaster until you get there,
Yeah, it's not easy, but it is. I mean, the fact that you can do that makes it more sustainable long term as well, because otherwise they set benchmarks that sometimes are very difficult to meet when you bring on outside money. So bootstrapping, I'm very happy to hear that. It's not the story we always get on the show. Tom Martin is watching now. I don't know if you know Tom from Log.
I do.
Yeah.
We presented at the LSC conference in January together.
Oh, good. Yeah, Tom was an early guest of the show, and shared lots of really interesting stuff on chatbots at the time, and he's gone even further since then. Dorna, and I want to keep you all night, so what haven't we covered that you'd like to have covered tonight? There's questions I haven't asked, and I'll blame Ivan for not being here and so forth. But there's what do people need to know about Documate that we haven't covered? Should they just reach out to you and ask you a question about whether or not it's for their practice or their firm or their enterprise, or any items that they need to know?
So one thing I would say is if anyone's heard of the DocAssemble platform, so we are built on top of the DocAssemble platform, which means that our platform is actually very, there's infinite amounts of customization you can do, because behind our very user-friendly code-free platform is all of this code that if you have an IT team on staff, and let's say you want to do things that are not currently possible with our direct interface, you can do them. Like, let's say you want to send out SMS notifications 15 days after a certain event in your system, something like that. You can do that with our system because we can just add some Python code into your interviews and launch that. So I just want people to know that the possibilities really are infinite. I think a lot of lawyers, and probably not as much the lawyers who are listening to this, but a lot of lawyers generally kind of don't realize that you can take something that's in your imagination and really bring it to life very easily, because a lot of us don't have a technological background. But I think that they would be surprised how much customization and building you can do on a platform without any code. So I would definitely encourage them to reach out to me, no matter what their idea is, whether it's document automation or something else, because I'm sure we'd have a great conversation either way.
That's excellent. Is there any way you'd like to see this your software used that it's not being used right now? Or like the passion, this started as a passion project. I imagine you have other passions, or is it something you'd like to see it used that you haven't yet witnessed?
Yeah, so one of the things that we were starting to see, but I'd like to see more, is just moving outside of the legal sphere as well. There are so many areas, insurance, finance, real estate, that I guess technically are legal adjacent, but where they use documents and where this would be applicable. So I'd love to see it spread out into some of these other areas and have those areas automated.
So you see this applicable to many different verticals that this could fall into. Would real estate be a good option for you?
So real estate's a funny one because I just bought a house last year, and because it was my first house, I was like, I'll just get a real estate agent because I don't know how the process works like. And in California, if you're a lawyer, you can actually represent yourself in a real estate transaction, which means that technically you could collect the buyer's real estate commission and put that towards the purchase price.
Right.
So every time I think about our sale, I'm like, we could have taken like 3% of that towards the purchase price, because really, we found the house ourselves on Redfin.
Right.
Agent, hopefully, is not.
So that's right, because we look these things up before we go and do it today, right? It's the buyer is much more informed in many respects than ever before. Buyers of legal services, most people who watch this show are familiar that buyers of legal services have changed. Mm-hmm. One of those who will tell you they want to find you where they want to find you, and they want to do their research about you long before they reach out to you. So real estate would be the same way. And it sounds like you did all the work, and now I've got to pay this unnecessary.
Exactly. So it's been in the back of my head to build something like this, but I haven't had time. So if anyone wants to do this, come join me and build out a real estate platform so we can just have all the lawyers in this world collect their buyer's commission on their own.
That's right. I like that. And
one other thing I'll mention, as you said, things that I'd like people to know about us, is that I think a lot of people think about automation and they think, you're trying to do away with all the lawyers. But it's actually not that. We're really expanding the pie. I hate to use that cliche phrase, but right now, the consumers, or in the past, century, the consumers of legal aid have been corporations, upper middle class individuals who need wills or have the money to spend on legal services, and then low income people who fall below that 125% of the federal poverty level and below, and therefore qualify for legal aid. But there's this entire section in the middle of the middle class who just does not have access to any type of legal services because they can't afford a lawyer and they don't qualify for legal aid. So this has really allowed a lot of lawyers to access that middle market. You can charge some of these people, but you charge them a flat fee of, $10, $15, $20, $50, $100 instead of, not having them as a customer at all and having them just go by the wayside.
Yeah. And this story keeps coming up over and over. My cousin, who's a lawyer, was just in my office the other day talking about, a lot of the clients just can't, even clients he's had for years, they can't, at a tenth of an hour, and here where we're at is, the common billable hours, maybe $350 or $400 as opposed to $700 or $800 in bigger cities. But at a tenth of an hour, they don't want to spend $35 or $40 for that phone call. Like they're getting pinched. Even the good clients for years, they're getting pinched. And then I was talking to a local restaurant owner who said, that they basically got pushed around on a lease recently and asked simply, why didn't you have a lawyer review this? And it was, why? Just didn't understand the purpose there, because he would have saved by spending $500 for an hour of his time or something like that, his or her time, you would have not had to pay all these improvements because somebody tried to sell it to you as is or rent it to you as is. But people don't know that. And I think it was LSC who just recently, I think it was the end of last year, said 80% of the population is going without legal services or legal representation. So,
right.
So products like what you're offering here, this automation, really is making legal services more affordable. And a quick callback to my example earlier of Billy Tarasio putting all those forms online. Sounds like it actually resulted in more business.
That's true.
So that is the point. By making these things available and letting people work their way through them on their own, and then they find the need for legal services. But you gotta help. You just give them a little helping hand might actually give you more business.
Absolutely, I completely agree.
So tell everybody who's still watching. Mitch says your enthusiasm is contagious. So I'm excited about that. Tell everybody who's still watching how, and anybody listening in the replay, how they find you.
So you can, multiple ways. You can find our website at www.documate.org, not .com because Xerox owns that. You can email me at dorna@documate.org. You can call me, and I actually don't know our work number by heart, so you can have my cell phone number. It's 949-300-7639. Call me if you want to talk legal. And then also on our website, we actually have a chat button at the bottom, and so it's usually me or someone else on our team who's answering that. So you can pretty much find us there 24/7.
Excellent. And you guys are also available on Twitter, I believe, and that is
Twitter at Documate Law.
Documate. That's where I got the Documate Law. I knew I wasn't making it up. I knew there was Documate Law somewhere.
We're on Twitter at Documate Law, Instagram at Documate Law, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
All right. So
if you have any suggestions for social media, we'll add them there too.
Yeah, when new ones come out. Yeah. Thank you so much for this. Don't disappear after we stop. Let me see if there are any last questions. Thanks, Tom. Tom says great interview. Mitch says the same. And that is it for episode 49 tonight. Ivan was off protecting the country and leaving me high and dry here. But Dorna was luckily much easier to talk to than Ivan is, which is always nice. This has been episode 49. Our guest tonight, Dorna Moini of Documate.org, Documate Law on Twitter. And this is document automation and workflow for lawyers. Dorna, thank you so much, and don't disappear on me.
Thank you so much, Nick.